Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this afternoon session on AI authenticity and academia, lessons from the front line at the University of Oxford. My name is Dan Roberts. I'm CIO at SOAS. I'm chairing the event. I am a relatively tall male wearing a blue suit and a black shirt. I had to just check there. Just a reminder, if you post to social media, please use the event hashtag USISA26. Turn your phones to silent. We're making this event as neuro-inclusive as possible. So please, we'll be collecting feedback via the app. And if you need to step out of the session, that's absolutely fine. Please do so without judgment. So to introduce our speaker, Kelly Webb-Davies, who is the lead education AI consultant at University of Oxford. On her LinkedIn, it says she stands on the intersection of generative AI, education, and equity. And her session will be about the pioneering strategy to embed AI responsibly.
All right, thank you for the introduction. I'd also like to say thank you for Google for inviting me today. I'm here with Jenna, who's up the back here. And so I'm going to be just basically walking you through what we've been doing at Oxford to address generative AI. So I'm going to be talking about the philosophy, why we've kind of decided to do what we're doing, tell you about the experimentation we've been doing. So we didn't have everything sorted out before we started doing this. We've been kind of running it as we've been building it, as I think we do with a lot of things in universities, especially when the change is happening this fast. And also the enablement that we've been creating within the university and what we've discovered from that. So I work for the AI Competency Centre. The AI Competency Centre was established about 2 years ago now. The head of the centre likes to joke that we could have created a centre of excellence, but competency is enough when the technology moves this fast. And what we do is we support both staff and students across the university. We were created to be a central place for support because there were people in various places in the university doing things with AI, but they were fragmented. The university is very large, it's very old, has its certain ways it likes to do things in different areas. We needed somewhere central. So we were part of the digital transformation program. And our remit is basically to enable informed, responsible AI use, and that involves training and consultancy. So I'm one of 3 consultants in the centre, and also providing access to generative AI tools. One thing we like to get across, so one of the lessons that we've learned is that don't try and put the policy before the practice. You might think that you're waiting for the perfect policy before you invest in these tools and before you start to enable your university. But by not creating one, you kind of already have a default policy, and that is shadow AI usage. These tools work a lot better when, we know that students and staff are using them. There was a recent Higher Education Policy Institute study that came out a few days ago, the updated version, and 95% of students are using generative AI. I think the rate for staff is probably not quite as high, but we knew that staff were using these tools on personal accounts. And these tools work a lot better if you upload information to them to ground them in your own sources. And so we know that people would have been uploading university data into the tools, and that's what we didn't want on personal accounts. We want this kind of practice to be happening in an enterprise-protected data workspace. And the other thing that I like to talk about is to think about your institutions and what your institutions are. And I think that these are the perfect places to be experimenting with this technology. One of the biggest concerns about generative AI is the risks of misinformation and hallucination. But our institutions are full of creative, clever people, and these people are all trained in being critical thinkers and source evaluators. Like, I can't imagine a more perfect place to be experimenting with this technology, and that's what we've found when we've enabled people. And I'm going to give you some examples of that during the talk as well. So I'm going to talk you through what we've been doing in terms of exploration and the pilots that we've been running at the university. So one of the first things we implemented when the Competency Centre was established was an AI Teaching and Learning Exploratory Fund. This was in conjunction with the AI Competency Centre and the Centre for Teaching and Learning. And basically we asked for submissions across the university. So again, taking advantage of those really clever people out there and their ideas and them being innovative, and we asked them, what do you think something that could be done with generative AI? Let us know, put your submission in, and then, and it wasn't a monetary fund, this was the fund was basically access to our expertise and support, both in the Competency Centre and the Centre for Teaching and Learning. So we chose 12 of those projects, and we spent 6 months developing them. And this enabled this exploration and to develop the AI innovation. We've also got some software engineers. So we built some of the projects, we're developing tools, like a chatbot for learning language, for getting feedback on translation. There was another one, a chatbot for allowing students to ask questions about reading lists. I worked on the project training students to use generative AI. We gave them some licenses and trained them to prompt it in a way to enable learning rather than bypass learning. And also, by doing this in conjunction with academics, we more guaranteed academically sound usage. The academics I talked to are really concerned about source evaluation and making sure that facts and critical thinking is happening. So that was one of the things we did when we began the centre. The other one was generative AI pilots. We've done 3 6-month pilots with Google AI Pro for education, and then a couple of others, ChatGPT Edu and Microsoft Copilot as well. These involved in total almost 1,000 members of staff, covering the whole university. So research, teaching, education, and also operations, professional services. So we tried to get a broad range of different fields in the university to see what people did with the tools, what they found about them, get them to evaluate them. We got feedback from them. And the other really valuable thing was gathering use cases. So this technology is, the way it functions changes so much depending on who you are, what your field is, what you're asking it to do. Getting the use cases from our staff has been one of the most valuable things that we've found. The result of those pilots was AI for All. We have provided a number of different tools across the university to both staff and students. And what we found out was now this gave them a data safe place to use this technology in, which is what we were concerned about with the shadow usage. We've encouraged exploration. So again, taking advantage of the innovative people in the university and what they do. It also reflects reality. People are using these tools, students are using these tools, staff are using them anyway. And so we, again, given them the safe place to use it in, also enabled them to be more transparent about their usage. They didn't have to hide away the fact that they were using it because maybe they knew if they weren't supposed to be uploading their data somewhere they weren't. They're less likely to talk about it than if you just give them the platform to use it in a more transparent way. And then if they feel more comfortable to be more transparent, then we can share experiences, use cases, develop this shared understanding. And also to test the limits. Sometimes the technology doesn't work. Sometimes there are places where it doesn't fit in. We can't find that out without exploring and learning some lessons from it. And one of the things I often tell, so I specialize in education, one of the things I often tell educators is that you can't address this technology in your teaching and your assessments if you don't understand the capabilities of it. And you can't really understand the capabilities of it unless you get hands-on with it. So this, by giving the tools out, letting people to use them and to experiment with them has been really valuable. We provide access to, we're sort of tool agnostic in the university. We provide access to both Google tools in the Google workspace, so Gemini, NotebookLM, and Google AI Studio. They're all covered under the, so basically if you sign in with your SSO, your single sign-on at Oxford, you end up in the enterprise protected workspace. We've also rolled out ChatGPT Edu to the entire university, and just within our Microsoft ecosystem, everyone has access to Copilot as well, because that's just part of it. So, because I'm here with Google, I'll tell you what we found really valuable about doing our Google Gemini pilot, which was one of the biggest benefits was the long context windows, specifically with Gemini Pro, a million long context window. Especially for our researchers who want to be uploading a lot of data into that. It's been really valuable for them. That's what they've been asking for. NotebookLM for me is kind of the star of the show. I'll often go into rooms with people who have been using generative AI, and I'll say to them, have you used a chatbot before? All the hands will go up. And I'll say, have you heard of NotebookLM? And a couple of hands will go up. And I'll be like, oh, do I have something to show you? NotebookLM was really good with grounding sources and being able to verify information. The workspace is free. That was another big benefit for us. And so we have had a lot of help with from Google with setting that up and helping with training, providing training as well, and also helping us with the pilot. Again, the enterprise-grade security is why we want that workspace in the first place, and it works. We're a Microsoft ecosystem. It slots right in there, so there's been no disruption to us continuing to use the things we usually use, like Outlook and OneDrive and SharePoint. And one of the other reasons that we want to provide multiple tools to the university, particularly to researchers, is they are very interested in having frontier models. So you can see here on one of the benchmarking websites that Gemini is right up the top at the moment. Things are always changing. But if we provide just one tool to our researchers, this ecosystem of tools, they develop so quickly, these change all the time, people's needs are changing all the time, the tools that they need depend on what they do, it's all very variable, so it's been a real benefit to us to have a variety of tools for people to choose what they want. Especially, again, because of that, the enterprise protected workspace that they use it in, that we want them to use it in. If they find a different tool works better, and maybe they'll be motivated to go outside that if we don't provide access to it. The other thing I like to recommend is to make it someone's job. So the Competency Center, my job is just AI. I often find with many institutions, and this was definitely true of my previous role in my previous institution, there are people in universities always who are really engaged in this. They see the problems, they want to solve the problems, and they work towards it, but they're doing that on top of their actual job. So I think you need to identify those people, but make it their job, because it's not sustainable for them to do that on top of their actual jobs. We were able to do that ourselves because we have the Competency Center, but we also had a lot of support from Google with doing that. So sort of twice weekly, every 2 weeks, training sessions at lunchtime. We had help from Google and GTEC to hold those, and we found that people kept attending those because they wanted the knowledge, they wanted the help to upskill in this technology. I want to give you a use case now, just to see the type of things that can do when you allow people to use this technology and just let them be creative. So this is my colleague, Ella. She's amazing with generative AI, to the point where I've started calling her Ella LLM. We seconded her from the Center for Teaching and Learning, and when she was going to move across to us, she had to leave behind her standard operating procedures, but they were all in her brain. She hadn't written any of them down, and to write them all down and create the SOPs for her successor would have taken her probably a week's worth of extra work on top of having to do her job as well. So what she did instead was she used Gemini, and she got Gemini to basically interview her. So Gemini asked her the questions to elicit all of that information that was in her brain, even things she didn't really know that she knew. And then it created sort of on templates, documents with all of that information. So all the information came from her, the human. It just helped to document it, to put it down. And then she then took those documents, uploaded them into Notebook LM, and then she could basically have this interactive handover pack for her successor. So instead of handing over a folder of paper documents or a file on computer to sort of scroll through and search through, her successor could just ask questions in natural language and get the answers. And it's been really successful for them. So again, Ella had not heard of this before. She made up this process by herself because she's very clever. The infrastructure in the university that we have to enable this is across sort of governance, community, and training. These have all been really important for us. So we have a digital governance unit, which covers not just generative AI, but a lot of our digital infrastructure. As a part of that, we have established an AI governance group. So the AI governance group has members from, again, across the university. And this technology moves so fast that we need to be agile to keep up with it, deciding what features we turn on. So the features on all the different platforms are changing almost weekly. It's our jobs in the Competency Center to keep up with that. Often we find it difficult as well. So the AI governance group also has a subgroup who meets every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks they get together. If there's anything we think we want turned on in any of these platforms, they will discuss it and in conjunction with InfoSec and information compliance, and decide whether things are turned on or whether they're not, what needs to be changed, what needs to be addressed. Community has been really, really important as well. So I think some of the worry with generative AI is it's going to take away, humans from speaking to each other. But we found the opposite. We've been bringing people together, and everyone I talk to with the use cases is also very worried about that. We want to find find ways that AI can do things that take up our time, that don't allow us to spend more time together. But the community has also been important in us scaling the knowledge that we've got. The AI Competency Center is only a small team. We can't train everyone. So we've established an AI Ambassadors program where we're aiming to get one person from every department, every college, who is kind of a central point for that department or college. People can go to for guidance, for mentorship, and basically someone who was already sort of AI engaged. And it allows us to train the AI ambassadors and then scale that knowledge across the university. We also have the AI in Education at Oxford University, the AI EOU. It's always very hard for people to say. And that is that's global, basically. So Sarah Ratner from the Department of Education heads that up, enabling collaboration across the world in terms of AI in education. The training that the AI Competency Center does is ranges across disciplines, so from research, operations, and education, and also ranges across different levels. So entry level 101, you've never touched generative AI before. Great, we'll teach you some fundamental things to get you started. And we also do bespoke training. So if you've got enough people in a department, you can come to us and say, this is a specific thing that we want to know. We will develop that training and we will use it. And by doing that also, we've found what people want, what they want to know. Once we've developed that training, that exists and we can use it for other departments as well. So across the 2 years of having done this, we've got sort of a pack of training and different training routes. Again, across staff and students. So we've also rolled out, so I'll show you quickly some of the training that we do. Introductory training, getting started, and then next steps. So we have kind of a 101 and a 102 training. And then I've been leading the training for the students, which is called Making Good Learning Decisions with AI. And the way that I have structured this, I'll just give you a little preview of what happens in this training. And basically, my point of view is wanting to move from viewing students as using this technology as just being cheating to it being about learning and equity of access, because these tools can be really important for students, a really good learning aid if they're using it the right way. And also in terms of linguistic and cognitive access as well. As someone who's neurodivergent myself, I find generative AI is really, really enabling. But students don't know how to use it in that manner unless someone is guiding them. So that's what I've been aiming to do with the student training. And also, I know this is probably one of the biggest concerns in universities. Can we give access to these tools to our students? Maybe they'll just, they'll use them to cheat. I would say they're using them anyway. So it's better for them to be guided by someone who knows what they're doing than just trying to ban them. If you try and ban them, you're not teaching them how to use them well. So this is some of the slides here. The slides here will be from the student training itself, and this is one of the things that I tell them. So learning is meant to be difficult. There's meant to be friction in learning. If it doesn't feel hard, you're probably not doing it right. If you're bypassing it with AI, you're probably not learning what you need to learn. So it's like if you want to build some muscles, if you're lifting those, if you're getting a machine to lift those weights, of course you're not getting stronger. Same thing with your brain. But maybe you can use a digital assistant to create a workout program for you, and they can guide you in how to do that, as long as you know how to use it that way. And so this is another slide from the student training. Just one of the, I come up with some basically AI personas, and this is one of the AI personas, which is the tutor. And the tutor is basically this really kind of fundamental rule of thumb. If you're asking AI to do something that you would ask your tutor, you're probably on the right track. So you might ask a tutor to ask you questions or to give you a quiz or to test your knowledge, but you wouldn't ask your tutor to write a paragraph for you, right? Because there's a reason why they want you to write that yourself, because that's the process of learning. And so by applying those lessons to the students, but also with the features of the AI itself and how to enable that type of learning, we can help them to use it better. So here in Gemini, you've got guided learning. You can turn that on, and then Gemini will function in a way where the way it interacts with you is more like it will be asking you questions and getting you to do the work. It won't do the work for you. And the default mode is probably likely to say, here, let me rewrite that for you because I'm being helpful. But helpful doesn't mean good for learning. But students don't know about this unless we tell them. I will go into rooms of students and I'll say, so who's used generative AI? All the hands go up. Of course they do. And I'll say, who's heard of guided learning? Like maybe one hand will go up. They just don't know that it's there. They don't know to use it unless someone's telling them. And same thing exists in Notebook LM as well. So you can turn on guided learning there. And the benefit of Notebook LM is it's always relying on the sources you've uploaded to give you the information, and also checking that information is very easy. Press a button, it'll show you the exact quote where that information has come from. So our students are also meant to be learning about verifying sources. As long as they know how to use the tools right and which tools to use for what purposes, we can enable that. And so one of the very sort of broad general things that I tell students is don't think of generative AI as information generation machine, because that's not what it is. It's more of it's a large language model. It's producing language. Doesn't mean it's not helpful. You just have to approach it the right way. So one of the best ways to approach it is, instead of asking it questions to get information, get it to ask you questions, and then you're doing the thinking. The same way Ella kind of did with her interview for her creating her SOPs. So at Oxford, I think the main lessons that we've learned are providing safe access is really, really important to enable people. And if you enable people, you can reap the benefits of their own creativity and their own innovation as well. Providing training, you can't just give them the tools and expect them to know how to use them. They do need some guidance. In our experience, it doesn't mean loads and loads of training. They don't have to know about everything. In our 101 and 102 training, we have some sort of fundamental baselines that so things that I say is, don't treat it like an information generation machine. Think of the stakes of the task that you're using it for. And also, sharing knowledge and innovation. People being more transparent about their usage means that they can share what they found out. We have a website full of use cases now because we've just been gathering them, like Pokemon. And don't wait for perfect. There isn't time. If you're still waiting for it to be perfect, by the time you get to that point, the technology will have moved on. We're kind of 3 years into this at this point. You need to start acting and allowing people to have the access that they need. Okay, and that's the end. I'll take any questions.
Do we have any questions? Oh, sorry. You'll get another round of applause after the questions as well. Well played. Do we have any questions at the back there? If you just wait for the mic, because then everyone can
I'm fully expecting in this audience to get questions that are above my pay grade. So if I can't answer it, I'm sorry.
Hi, Ed from Cardiff. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. We're very much on the same path. You're maybe a little bit ahead of us. So my question is, what's next? What's your next plans?
I think we're trying to deal now with what do we do about agentic AI. Yeah, big questions with that. I don't have the answers for that. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else? I saw another hand go up.
And also I've been working as well with a sort of assessment policy and redesign the university as well. I think that's somewhere where we need to catch up. And I think I met some people from Cardiff University recently at Google, and they said they were implementing the Lane 1, Lane 2 framework from the University of Sydney, which I'm a big fan of. So that's trying to get some of those changes made.
Okay. Another question over here.
Hi, Catherine McMillan from University of Strathclyde. And sorry, this is a bit more basic, not sort of future gazing, which I should have thought in one. But when you were saying it integrates with your Microsoft environment, I want to ask about that. Does that mean it can work against the data you have on, say, OneDrive? And does it mean that you can use it in Word and things like that?
So not Gemini, but we do have the workspace with the Google Docs. You know, we've got access to Gemini, access to Notebook LM, not integrated across, but not in that way.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any more for any more, making me run around here. Oh, at the front, great. Here we go. It's like one of those roving reporters.
Natalie Lafferty, UCISA. I'm just interested, there's some evidence from the States that where they've licensed AI tools for students, that students actually are still using their own free versions because they don't want to be tracked. Have you found that at Oxford, or
yeah,
the take being quite high?
Yeah, students definitely have that concern. I go into rooms and ask them, and they're like, "Oh, I don't really want to use the version because I think you can see what I'm doing." And I say to them, "I can see the back end. I can't see what you're doing." I wouldn't use it if that was the case. We know no one would use it if we could see what you were doing. But I think that is a case of comms getting across the information, and we found that really, really important in our team. We have a number of comms people on our team, and that is just to get the information out there, because there's a lot of misinformation about generative AI, and also just knowing that we exist to help people, getting the information out there. There's still people, we've been around for 2 years, people still don't know that AI Competency Center exists. So it's all part of the kind of rollout that we've been doing is really important. Again, a lot of what we've been doing, we found, has been about people.
Any more? If not, I've got a question. Okay, so my question is about AI governance. You talked about AI governance. How stable is your AI governance given the progression of the technology over a period of time?
This is one of the questions I thought would be above my pay grade. So I don't know. I think I know about the existence of the. They worked really hard to get the framework of how the digital governance unit, and then how that integrates with the IT services. And originally there were more competency centers. Actually, the AI Competency Center was one of the last ones developed. We had a workflow and automation competency center, I think a cloud computing competency center. They were meant to kind of upskill the university and be temporary, but the AI Competency Center is still going, because I think the technology moves so fast. We find we need that governance input consistently, because the technology is changing so fast.
Okay. If there are no more questions, I just want to say one thing as well, which is just to thank Google for sponsoring the event. They're a USI as a partner. I didn't realize Jenna is Jenna here?
She's at the back there.
She's at the back there. That's Jenna. The D is silent, just for your information. You're on stand 73, so take the opportunity to pass by and speak to Google about their impact on the education world. And then finally, just to thank Kelly for what was a really interesting presentation. And yeah, second round of applause, please. Thank you.